Hello, I came across this cool looking thermostat among the pics, and I just had to look and see how it was done in the back. So that's with divs, quite a lot of them. So isn't this possible in a simpler manner? Well, of course it is, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this video. This is a control, so I thought the best idea here would be to do it with form elements. So this circular thing here would be a range input. This label down here would be its associated label. The temperature here in the middle would be its associated output. And these two buttons would be button elements. Okay, so let's get started. We have a form. Within it we have an input. We're going to give it an ID of temperature. Type range. Then we have a label for this temperature. So for heating. Now I'm going to take this, copy paste it, make this output, and I'll worry about the text content later. Then I'm going to have a button, and what this button is going to do is decrease the temperature. So on clicking on this button, the temperature is going to go down by 1. That means that I subtract 1 from the current value of the temperature. So what I'm going to do here is, in a style attribute, set a custom property, which is going to be the sign of what I add. In this case, it's going to be -1, because I subtract -1. I subtract the 1 from the current temperature. Now, for the other button, I'm going to increase the temperature. So the sign is going to be plus. Now, I'm also going to have a few more values here. So the minimum for the range 2, maximum 34, initial value 19. Okay, here again I'm going to have inside the style attribute min, and here I need to interpolate. Oopsie. So I'm going to take this, copy paste it twice. Here I'm going to set, and again I'm taking this, copy pasting it twice. Now here I change to max, and then to value, and this is actually value. And this thing here, I'm going to use the value, and it's interpolated differently because this is text content and this is attribute. Now, this is all for the HTML structure. So let's move on to the CSS. So first of all, I'm going to set some generic styles on all elements. That's going to be, no, actually on the body, and then on everything in the body. So on the body, I'm going to have margin 0. I'm going to have, I don't think I'm going to need that. On everything here, I'm going to set margin 0. I'm going to set padding 0. I'm going to set a text align center. I'm going to set font inherit. Okay. I think that should be pretty much it. I don't know, should I set border radius 50%? I'm going to see how that works out. I don't know. Maybe it's a bad idea. I'm going to see about that. Okay, so let's... this is going to be the background for the body. And something else I'm going to do before anything else, just take this font import, put it there. Okay. Now I'm just going to collapse this. Then I'm going to have a few styles for the thermostat. So for example, these. So this is going to be my form element. Oh, one more thing here. It's not going to be just the elements, it's also the after and before pseudo elements. Okay, so I'm going to set those values, and that looks so ugly like that. Okay, now this also looks ugly, so let's put this like this. Let's get rid of that, get rid of this as well, that as well. Here I can do just like this. Okay, now I'm just going to create a mixin here, and this is going to be useful to size and position everything right in the middle. So this is going to be a size and position, and it's going to take dimension, and since everything is circular, square, whatever, the offsets are going to be equal. So this simplifies things a lot. So the offset is going to be calc 50% minus half, and here I need to interpolate dimension. Next I'm going to set the actual offsets. So this is the dimension, this is going to be left, this is going to be height, and this is going to be width. Okay, and now I'm going to include this mixin for the form. So that's going to be include, and here it's going to be the exterior diameter. So now let's see how big that is. So here I have 400 pixels, and I want to do this in ems, and for that I'm going to want to have the size of this font 59 pixels. So that's going to be approximately. So actually I'm going to set the font size as unitless, 3.75, and then I'm going to set an exterior diameter 6.75, and if you actually compute these, you'll see that they're not exact, they're just approximations, but I'm using approximations because it's easier this way, it's easier to work this way. So let's see, font is going to be a thin one, 300 is the thinnest one I see there. I'm going to use, and I need to interpolate this because I'm also going to set a line height, the unitless font size times 1m, and the line height is going to be 1 here. Actually I might need to override this, so I'm just going to do this font family, so just put this like that. Okay, one thing I do want to do here is set so I do need margin 0 on the body. Okay, something was wrong there. Okay, that should have been full height, and given it isn't, okay, that's okay. I forgot to set something here, position absolute, and that's why. And I think that if I set that, I don't need. Okay, that's done. That was the problem. Okay, but something I do want to set here is overflow hidden. Okay, I'm done with that. Let's collapse that Mixin as well. Next, I'm going to have that thing inside. So it's this bit right here, 260 pixels. So that's going to be a mid diameter. Mid. So that's about 4.25. And this is going to be a before. Okay, and it's going to include something similar like that. Oh, something else I can do here is set content to just empty. Okay, and this is going to be the middle one. Okay, position absolute, and this should have done it. Okay, so that's the before, and I have no idea why it's not. Oh, I'm not looking at the before, I'm looking at the button. I haven't set anything on the before. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's collapse this as well. Let's see, what do I have? That's my background right there. Okay, I'm also going to have a box shadow. So let's get that one as well. And that's the one. Okay, so I'm just okay. Now I'm just going to take what I have here, and I'm going to use it on the output. And this is going to be an interior diameter. Let's see this interior diameter. I have it there. The box shadow is that. Okay. And again, that. The interior diameter. Let's see the dimensions, the background, and all that other stuff. Of 150 pixels. Okay, this is a very rough approximation. Okay, this is the background. Now here also I'm going to set a line height, and this one is going to be equal to the interior diameter. Okay, and then I'm going to have an after, and this is going to be content. It's going to use the degree symbol. So that's the symbol right there. Just copy paste this, and I don't want it this big. I think it's smaller. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to have font size. This is going to be okay, and I'm also going to do this plain line block, and something else I'm going to do is margin top, and this is going to be minus something like this. This should do it. Okay, this looks fine. Now for the buttons, I'm just going to take this. I'm not going to use the box shadow. The background is going to be, let's set a deep pink for now, although I'm not going to use that. Here I'm going to set this to 0, border radius to 0. This is going to be a button diameter, and this button diameter is going to be a computed quantity. So it's going to be the difference of the radii, so that's going to be half the diameters. The mid one minus the interior one. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that border, so that's border 0. Okay, border none. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is white space, no wrap, no, white space. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is text indent, and this is going to be the button diameter. I'm also going to set overflow hidden. Okay, and then I'm going to have an after pseudo element. And this one, I'm going to do something similar for it. One more thing. Box sizing, border box. Okay, so here it's going to be a quarter of this. I'm going to have border solid 0 current color, something like that. And then I'm going to have border width, and this is going to be, let's say, 3 pixels, 0, 0, and 3 pixels. So that's for top. Actually, here I'm going to set border radius inherit. That's better. And here for the font, I'm going to set border radius 50%. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, this is better. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to modify this Mixin to allow to set a different offset. So in this case, for the buttons, I want to set a different horizontal offset, a different one from the standard one. So if I'm allowed to set something, by default this set is -1. Now I'm going to so this is pretty much it. Now let's, if set different 0, of course it's not going to be in every case 0, so here it's going to be -1, here it's going to be 1. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty much it. Now here I'm going to set the actual left value. This one is going to be calc. The offset I've set as a custom property, and then I'm going to have plus sine times this is going to be half the interior width, interior diameter, sorry, interior diameter. Wait, this S value is 1 and -1, so that should have positioned them differently. Okay, let's see the compiled CSS. So okay, this looks good. So I don't know why I'm not getting something different for each. Okay. So why am I not getting a different thing? So this is my first button, okay? This is my other button. So why are they not positioned differently? Oh, I'm not, for some reason, the offset isn't set. Okay, so, yeah, I figured it out. So here I need to set this to 1, and now it should work. Okay, so also, and here I need to add the button diameter. Okay, this should do it. Okay, now that I've done this, next step is just get rid of this deep pink right here. Do a cursor pointer. That should do it. Here, set a background to none as well. So, okay. And here I'm going to set a transform, rotate 45 degrees, and I don't want it to point up. I'm going to want to have calc, and again plus that sign times 90 degrees, and now one points left, the other one points right. That looks fine. Also, the color for those, let's pick it from there. That's my color. Okay, so that's my color. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is on focus and on hover, I'm going to have outline none, and also color coral. I don't know. This should work, and also transition color. I don't know. Use a short time here. So. Okay, so this does for the target-like thing there. Now, for next, I'm going to do the label. Let's collapse this as well. Collapse the output, collapse the buttons. For the label, I'm going to do something similar. Replace this with a label. Then also absolutely position, but I'm going to have right 0, bottom 0, left 0. I'm also going to set a smaller font size. Let's see. That's going to be its color. Okay. and the font size. Actually, I think I'm going to reset the font altogether. Okay, text transform uppercase as well. And I think that does it for the label. Just going to need to set the color to that, and that's it. That's my label. Done with it as well. Now all that's left is the range input. Well, something else on the output, but we're going to talk about that later. So now the range input, it's going to be the temperature, the one with the temperature ID. Okay, and for this, I'm simply just going to copy paste stuff from here, and I'm not going to bother with Edge here because Edge doesn't support calc for angle values, so I'm not going to waste time on that. Okay, so this is going to be track diameter, so I'm going to fix that. Going to get rid of this cursor pointer and instead use pointer events none, because I'm going to change the value with the buttons. Okay, that looks good. I'm not going to need this because I've set it there. The track, I'm going to need to set a track diameter. So let's see. This one there, so let's see, approximately 6 n's. So that's my track diameter. So what else is left? Of course, the track Mixin. So Mixin track. Here I'm going to set the same dimensions. Actually, I'm just going to set width 100% and the same for height. So okay, now what I want to do is give me, no, that's not what I wanted. Give me this color. So what's your color? That's your color. Okay, so this is going to be background color. Okay, so I'm also going to need to set an input offset. Temperature. Well, I'm going to make this temperature. I'll leave it like that. Track offset, and this is going to be half of the exterior diameter minus the track diameter. And actually I need to switch. Okay, and this I'm going to set right here. So top track offset, and the same is going to be for left. Okay, so the thing is, that's okay. So here I'm also going to need to set border radius 50%. Not happy about that, but whatever. Actually, if I just set overflow hidden on the input, it would be the same thing, wouldn't it? Yes, it's the same thing. Okay, now what I'm going to want to do here is actually use a conic gradient. So I'm going to set background conic gradient, and here I'm going to have orange, red, and here I'm going to have a cutoff value, and this cutoff value is going to go to gray next, that's going to be 0 degrees, and this cutoff value is going to be 360 degrees by default. Okay, so something else I'm going to do here is transform, rotate half a turn. Okay, so that's starting nicely. Next, I'm going to set a track mask. This is going to be radial gradient. Before anything else, I'm going to set a track width. And this is going to be smaller volume, something like this. So here I'm going to have transparent, and then I'm going to have, okay, so this is going to go all track mask radius, and this is going to be half of the track diameter minus the track width. So this is going to be the track mask radius, and here I'm going to have almost the same thing, except I'm going to have calc, and I need to interpolate this inside calc 1 pixel plus. Okay. Now I'm going to set here I'm going to set WebKit mask track mask. Okay, so this does it, and I'm going to have something similar for Firefox. So what I'm going to do is just set that here. Okay, so this pretty much does it, and I can collapse this stuff, no worries. Okay, next thing I'm going to want to set a clip path. So I'm going to have an angle from which I cut off this thing, and this angle is going to be the difference between this radius and the vertical here. So this is going to be my angle, and let's say it's going to be something like 19 degrees, I don't know, a random value. I didn't actually measure it in the original, but this should work pretty well. Then I'm going to have an x difference that is going to be the difference up until where I cut on the edge here. This is going to be that difference dx. And this is going to be a half of the track diameter, which is, so that's 50%, times tangent of this angle. So now in the track mixin, I'm going to have a clip path polygon, and first of all I'm going to have the points of the V that I cut out. So that's going to be 50% minus that dx, and that's going to be at 0. Then I go right in the middle at 50%, 50%. Then I go back out. So that's going to be 50% plus dx this time, and also at 0. Then I'm going to just take the corners So this is going to be, the first corner after this is going to be 100% 0. Okay, next corner is going to be 100%, 100%. Next is going to be 0, 100%. And last one is going to be 0, 0. Okay, so this gives me my track. And this is pretty much what I want here. Okay, now let's see where I want that cutoff point, because I don't want it by default at 360 degrees. This is just for browsers that don't support conic gradient natively, which is pretty much all other browsers except Blink browsers. Something. Okay, so here in the form I'm going to set a ratio. So a ratio, and this is going to be a calc value. And here I'm going to have numerator, denominator, and here I'm going to have the current value minus the minimum one. And I'm going to have almost the same thing at the denominator, except I'm going to use the maximum instead of the current. So this is my ratio. Okay, and now I want to know how far along this circle, starting from here, I've gone. So that's going to be my cutoff. So the cutoff is going to be calc. And first of all, I need to take into account the angle that I have there at the start. So I'm just going to interpolate that. And then I'm going to have the ratio times the range that's between this orange here and that red right there. So that's 1 turn minus twice that angle. So this is my cutoff. So here, when I'm going to call the Mixin, I'm going to use the cutoff. Okay, so this works nicely, but I want the real colors that I'm going to have there. So tell me. That's the gray. I already got. Oh, yeah, I already have that. So what I'm going to do is make this transparent. Okay. So now I want the red and the orange. Let's see. Okay, so that's my orange, and that other one is my red. So that's my orange. And my red was okay, so that's it. This is it for the track. I'm not going to make any more changes there. I don't think I'm going to make any more changes to the form either. Nope. Now for the output, I'm going to have a before here. So before, and this one is going to be, first of all, I'm going to set the content to be the current value of the temperature. So I can't set the custom property directly into the content, so I'm going to need to use something like a counter reset, and this is going to be temperature and here in the content I'm going to have a counter temperature. Okay, and font, I'm going to do something like 600. Something like this. Okay, and now I can see it there. And I'm going to want to have some set dimensions on that as well. So this is going to be my moving item. So moving, let's say it's going to be something like 3.5 ems, something like that. Should do it. And I'm going to set this. I'm going to set it on the before as well. So this is going to be the moving thing. Okay. And I'm going to set a transform, and this is first is going to be a rotate, and here I'm going to have the cutoff angle minus half a turn, because I've rotated the range, and now I need to rotate this as well. Then I'm going to have a translation, so translate, and this translation is going to be a calc value, and I'm going to use half the track width, so times the unitless font size. I knew that was the thing. Translate y, sorry, track diameter, sorry, track diameter, and this is going to be with minus. Okay, one more thing I want to have here is box shadow, so I can see some stuff, how it works there. Okay, something else I'm going to set here. Okay, so what I'm going to have here is moving diameter minus this. Okay, so this should do it. And also I'm going to subtract the track width. Also, I need to multiply this by the unitless font size. Okay, so here the line height is going to be the diameter. Okay. So this pretty much does it, and I'm going to want to set a background here. Background, linear gradient. Okay, 90 degrees. So here I'm going to have transparent, calc, 50%, minus 2 pixels. Okay, this just going to copy paste here. This is going to be white right here. This is going to be like that, and then okay, and before that, just going to take this, paste it here, change the signs. Okay, now the next thing that I want to do is position 50%, track width times actually let's store this as something, because I'm gonna get bored of writing that. Okay, and I need to interpolate this because I'm also going to set the size, and that's going to be 100%. Okay, no repeat. Okay, so that does it. Next, I'm going to have a radial gradient, and that's going to be something like coral RGBA, coral 0, 70%, something like that. And then I'm going to have it's going to be 50%, 0. The size is also going to be 100%, and this time is going to be 3 times that unit, and again no repeat, no repeat. Okay, that works fine. I can see that thing there. I can take out the box shadow. Now I want the actual color. That's going to be the glow in there. So let's get the glow. Yeah, that's it. So those are my RGBA values. So it's not going to be exactly coral, but let's use this. Let's make it a bit more intense. Something like this. Okay, now this looks nice. What I'm going to do here is set a color, white. Oops. Okay, I hate this. Okay, and then I'm also going to want a text shadow for that text. So, text, where are you? Okay, that's my text shadow. Just copy paste this text shadow. Okay, and that's good. Now I only want this text shadow to show when I hover the form. So one thing I can do here is form not hover, and this is a very neat trick. So these values here, I'm going to use a custom property which takes different defaults there, but when it's not hovered, it takes the same default, which is transparent. So here I'm going to have, what the heck, yeah, transition, and I'm going to have transition property, color, and text shadow. Okay, so okay, I forgot this. Now it should work. Okay, and it does. It works nicely. Okay, so this is pretty much all for the styling, and let's get started on the JS. So I'm going to have constant. This is going to be the range input, and document get element by ID. This is going to be temperature. Next is going to be the output, and this is going to be document query selector output. Okay, next I'm going to have the form, and this is the range, the parent node of the range. Okay, next I'm going to have add event listener click. Okay, so this should do it. Next, I'm going to have get the target. If the target is a button, okay, and I'm going to call an update function that takes the sign from the custom property. Style get property value. It's super annoying because it's set property and get property value. Okay, and let's make this into a number before that. So here I'm going to have function update, and here I'm going to have the sign. Okay, I'm also going to have another constant, and that's going to be the options, and this is the two options are min and max. And the thing is, I don't want to go beyond the minimum or the maximum. I don't want to change the value beyond those. Here I'm going to store the value. Let's make this range value. Okay, now here I'm going to have if so if the value is different from the range, and here I'm going to take the option. This is going to be half times 1 plus the sign. So if it's different, then I'm going to update the value with the sign, and then I'm going to set on the form style set property value, and then I'm going to take this, and for the output set it as text content. So this should now do it. Okay, and it doesn't, so I'm making a mistake somewhere. Let's see. Tell me. Oh, the options. Yeah, I have it right in front of me and I can't remember what I called it. Okay, so this works. It's functional, as you can see, and it looks pretty nice. And for browsers that for WebKit browsers that don't support conic gradient natively, this whole thing is going to be gray, but this is going to move there nicely and all that. For Firefox, this is going to use the polyfill, and it's going to be a gradient from orange to red here. So that's going to be it for Firefox. And Edge is going to be a disaster, but I didn't even try to do anything stuff for Edge. So that's it. Well, this is it for today. You're going to find the link to the finished demo in the description below, and if you have any questions or requests for future videos, you can drop them in the comments or send them on Twitter. Let me know if you want me to do something like this in the future, something similar, maybe with, I don't know. In a way, I'm hoping you'll say no, because this is quite difficult for me, because it's not so logical, and it's a lot easier when there's a formula and that thing generates everything. But for this, there's a lot of styling to be done on every little thing, and it takes me a lot of time, as you've probably seen already. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have and you wish to see more videos from me in the future, please consider supporting my work in one of the ways explained in the description, with a donation by getting me something off my Amazon wishlist, or at least by sharing this to show the world what can be done on the web these days. In any event, thanks for watching.